when we want to, with proper leadership, there's nobody even close to us. We have the best equipment in the world. We have the best equipment in the world. Military, we fight to just keep it going forever. There's nobody that can even come. But I was talking to General Dan Kane and Combe Raisin Kane, and I was told it would take about 4 years to defeat ISIS, and he did it in 3 weeks. I said to him, "What do you think, General? How long will it take, sir? I think we should do it in less than 4 weeks. You're going to have time left over," and he did. He did that. And we were told by the television generals it would take 4 years, so we did it. That's when I went to Iraq. I flew to Iraq, and late at night, the dark of night, all the windows closed, all the lights off in the plane, and Air Force One. And we flew in, and it was pretty amazing. Okay, we were landing, and there were no lights in the plane. "Sir, we have to turn off all lights." I said, "You mean we spend $9 trillion, and we have to fly in an Air Force One with the lights off?" And I went up to the pilot, said hello. And by the way, these guys are like central casting. These are the best looking human beings. Everybody is like perfect. The most handsome people, the best looking people you've ever seen with the flat tops and the whole thing. And I was a little concerned because the lights are off and everything's off. And even the lights in where he was were down very dim, very, very dim, with all of the lights on the fancy dashboards of the plane, of Air Force One. We're getting a new Air Force One if they can ever finish the damn thing. We're getting 2 of them, actually. But we may have to go a different route because it's taken them a long time. We're going to get military that's going to start building. We're going to get people to start building properly again in our country because they don't build properly. This was Boeing. But we're up there, and I'm looking at these people. And again, I say they look like Tom Cruise, but better. Stronger, tougher. And I like Tom Cruise, but these are better. And they said, "Are we okay, Captain?" "Yes, sir, we're fine." But I'm looking out, I don't see any lights, and we're landing. And I'm used to that. I like to sit with the pilots a lot and respect the pilots greatly. And we're up there, and we have the computer. I call it the computer voice, where it goes 1,900, 800. It's feet. Your feet above ground. So that means you're very low. And I'm looking out, and my eyes are pretty good, and I don't see any lights. And the computer goes out. Sounds like an intelligent individual. It goes 1,000. We're 1,000 feet up. It's a 10-story building. There's a big plane. And then it goes 900, 800, 700. I say, "Captain, Captain, we don't see any lights. Is everything?" "Yes, sir, everything's fine, sir. We'll be landing in 3 minutes." And then it goes like 600, 500. "Captain, we okay?" And then he goes 400, 300, 200. And I'm saying, "Man, there's nothing out there." And then he goes, boom. Perfect landing right on this thing. There are no lights on the runway. There's no, I don't know how the hell they do it, but I'm sure as hell glad we had somebody that knows how to fly. But they didn't want to have any lights because they didn't want the enemy. After spending, years and trillions of dollars, we have to land with Air Force One with no lights on the runway. But they were incredible people. And then I got out of the plane, and I actually asked my people, I said, "Excuse me, I was very brave sitting in that cockpit. Am I allowed to give myself the Congressional Medal of Honor?" And they said, "I don't think so, sir." I said, "Well, I thought that was extremely brave." But now here's the problem with saying a story like that when you kid. The press will say, "President Donald Trump wanted to give himself the Congressional Medal of Honor." Headlines, headlines all over, the fake news. We call it the fake news, but we're all wise to them. But it was something, and then I went down, and it was the same thing. I'm standing on the top, and I look down, and there's these handsome people. Everybody's like from a movie set. Good-looking guys. I get down the stairs, and "What's your name?" "My name is Kane, sir." "What's your first name?" They call me Raisin. They say, "Wait a minute, your name is Raisin Kane? I love you. I've been looking for you for 5 years. You are the great. This is what I want." And There was a general next to him, there was a colonel, there was a drill sergeant, a master sergeant. They were all like people. I could make a movie right now. I'd have the best looking people ever. And they were great. And then I went in and, sir, would you like to rest before the bed? No, I don't want to rest. I don't want to rest. I've been resting on the plane. Other than the last few moments, which were quite harrowing. And I said, I don't want to rest. He was thinking about Biden in advance, you know. Biden would have gone there, he would have rested for days. And then they wouldn't have had a meeting. He'd just go home. No, I said, I don't want to rest. I don't want to rest at all. I want to go. So we went into this like bunker, and we had a lot of very good, talented people. And that's when I asked them. I said, you know, I'm hearing it's going to take a long time. No, that's not right, sir. It's not going to take a long time. We'll have it done in 4 weeks. I said, how can you say 4 weeks when in Washington they said 4 years? He said, 4 weeks, sir. We'll hit them left, we'll hit them right, we'll hit them up the center, we'll hit them underground and overground, we'll knock the hell out of them, sir. And I said, why is it that they said so long? He said, because they wouldn't let us fight. And we're very far away. They want us to fight for this, from this airport. We're very, very far away, sir. And they want us to fight here. We have many substations out, sub-airports, they call them, remote airports, where they build them in the sand. And we have many of them. And I'd use them all, sir. And I would hit them so hard from so many different directions. I said, well, what do you think? He said, you just let me know. I called him back and I said, go ahead and do it. Are you sure you can do this, General? I said, yes, sir. And he did it actually in 3 weeks. It was over 100% of people that are really hurting the Middle East, hurting the world. And it was done. And I'm telling you, we have the greatest military in the world, but you have to use the right people. But there's nothing like what they were able to do in that case and in other cases, wherever I gave them something, it was done incredibly well and you know many of the instances because it's been well reported, but we've also required, so we have a country that's a great country. It's a strong country, but it's a country that's just now gaining its respect back to the levels that it should have never lost. We're being laughed at by the entire world, but we're not being laughed at anymore. But we've also required that all federal employees must once again show up to work. It's a new phenomenon, you know, since COVID. Show up to work in person like the rest of us. So, I mean, it doesn't work when you don't show up. And I see companies now are all going back to it. They're all going back. It's great. I watch some of the big business leaders saying we absolutely are going back. You can't work at home. They're not working. They're playing tennis, they're playing golf, or they have other jobs. But they're not working, or they're certainly not working hard. You could never build a company or a country with that. So we have a very strong policy, and if they don't show up to work, they get fired. And we're trying to make our government smaller but much stronger. And we have tremendous bureaucracy, but it's happening. A lot of people are leaving, and in some cases leaving with pretty good offers. You know, you're paid 7 or 8 months and go out, find a job. But some of these people had jobs. They were actually working for us, but they also had other jobs. And those people, in theory, they have problems. I don't know if we're going to do anything about that. So we have other things to do, but they were working other jobs instead of working for us. So they were staying home working, but they were working other jobs, getting paid a lot of money perhaps. We offered deferred resignation buyouts to all federal workers, resulting in more than 75,000 bureaucrats voluntarily surrendering their taxpayer-funded jobs. A lot of them are leaving because they don't want to be caught having the second job. Some are leaving because they didn't want to be in government any longer. And some are leaving because they didn't want to show up to work. They wanted to work outside of an office. And that's never going to work for anybody, including companies. Companies ought to get smart. You watch these companies where they do that. They start going bad. Nobody knows what's wrong with this company. Well, try getting the people back into the office where they can be cohesive and together. In less than a single month, the Department of Government Efficiency has already saved over this is just a short period of time, $55 billion. And we're just getting started. That's nothing compared to the numbers that you're talking about, right? We're ending trillions of dollars in waste, and it'll mean much lower inflation, lower interest rates, lower payments on mortgages, credit cards, car loans, and much higher stock markets. I think the stock market's going to be great. In other words, we will rapidly grow our economy by dramatically shrinking the federal government, and we have to do it. I'm also taking fast action to end the radical left's nation-wrecking crusade against oil and natural gas. Over the past 4 years, the Biden administration cut the number of new oil leases and gas leases by 95%. They slowed new pipeline. I mean, look at the Dakota Access, they wanted that one knocked out. The Keystone Pipeline, they wanted that one knocked out. They ended the Keystone. We got the Dakota Access done, but it wasn't easy after they tried to stop it. They slowed new oil and gas pipeline construction to virtually a halt. They shut down 38% of active oil and gas rigs in the United States, but they love the wind turbines. They go round and round and round. And the wind doesn't blow, they got problems. They kill all the birds, they ruin the sight lines, they ruin the plains and the beautiful areas of our country, including the oceans, the lakes. They closed more than 50 power plants, all causing energy prices to skyrocket. You saw that happen. That's what caused inflation, pretty easy. These policies were so destructive that despite draining nearly 40% of U.S. strategic petroleum reserve, meant for emergencies, it was meant for emergencies. It wasn't meant for getting the price of gasoline down so that you can win an election. It didn't work for winning the election. Actually, there's so many people that are driving that it's a very small number. It just had a very small effect, but in the meantime, it takes it down. Now it's at the, we'll fill it up fast, but it's at the lowest level. When we made the transition, it was at the lowest level in history, ever recorded, the lowest level. Nobody's ever seen it that way. They put it all out because they thought they could keep gasoline prices down a little bit, just go past the election, and after that, they didn't care. And it didn't work because they didn't get elected. I got elected. But the price of gasoline still rose over 35%, and in some cases, at some periods, it was 100% and 125% during certain periods of time. Under the Trump administration, we have implemented a very different plan. You probably heard of it. It's called Drill, Baby, Drill. And we're doing it. The world runs on low-cost energy, and energy-producing nations like us have nothing to apologize for. We have more energy than any other nation in the world, and we're going to use it. And we're going to use it on AI plants. I was telling some of the people that came in that, they're very into, everybody's talking about AI. I hope you're right. I don't know, who knows. But Elon, are they right? Are they right in going, they are all in for AI. But the problem is, to do it, just in our country, you need twice the electricity just to open up and be the top of AI. You need twice the electricity that we have right now in the entire country. You take all of the electricity, you need more than twice. You need double what we have right now just to fuel this new industry that's growing. I was amazed when I heard that number. And they all said, how can we do this? Because, in China and various other places, you can probably get it with the shake of the hand. But in our country, you can't. But now you can, because I'm declaring a national emergency in order to get fast approvals. And we're going to have, if you build a plant, you're able to build an electric generating facility right next to your plant. So you'll be making your own. You won't have to count on utilities. You won't have to count on an old grid that could fail, could get hit by something, bad things or good things. But you're not going to have to worry about grids. You'll build your plant, and you'll build essentially you'll become a utility in a way. You can build your own electricity. If you want to build extra and put it out and get paid for that, you're going to be able to do that. You could put it back into the grid, but you're going to be able to build with your plant a generating facility. And we're going to get you Lee Zeldin, head of the environment and environmental, the environmental group, various groups, and we've got them unified now, but we're going to get you very fast approvals. They'll be approved so fast, your head will spin, and we're going to get that whole industry started, and we're going to be the head of it. We're leading right now. We have the greatest brain power. We're leading right now, and I expect that we're going to be leading by a lot, but we're going to get you the energy very, very quickly. That would be the one thing that everybody was concerned. How do we have that much electricity when Los Angeles has blackouts and brownouts right now? There's a lack of electricity, but we're going to get it. at levels never seen before. I ended the ridiculous Green New Scam, halting tens of billions of dollars of wasteful deficit spending. And I withdrew the United States from the unfair one-sided Paris Climate Accord, and I ended Joe Biden's insane electric vehicle mandate because it was just insane. I repealed the last, and by the way, if you want to buy an electric car, it's great. If you want to buy a gasoline-driven car or a hybrid, it's great. Whatever the thing happens to be. I heard hydrogen's hot. The problem is when it's not, you're in deep trouble, because when that sucker blows up, they don't find the body. So that's one that I said, you know what, let's take a pass on that one. They said it's good, but when it's bad, it's really bad. You find the bodies on trees, on the side of a tree. I said, I think we'll pass on that one, right? We're not going to want that one. But you never know. Maybe someday it'll be good, but it doesn't sound like it's off to a good start. I repealed the last administration's very destructive natural gas export ban. And last week we approved our first new liquefied natural gas export license, and we have literally hundreds of people that want to export. I recently met with the Japanese Prime Minister, Shiba, to discuss large increases in American oil and gas exports. They want it so badly. They said we went to the Biden administration, they wouldn't sell it. They wouldn't sell it. Nobody knows why. Biden didn't know why either. They asked him, I don't know. He wanted, they did, oh, I didn't know that. But we're going to sell it, and the new project in Alaska is going to feed all of Asia. We're going to take care of all of Asia. We have so much oil and gas, like very few people, like very few countries have, like really actually no country has. I also met with Prime Minister Modi of India, who wants to greatly expand India's purchase of American energy, and my administration has also launched the most aggressive deregulation program of any nation in history. Under my executive order, for every one new regulation added, 10 old regulations have to be eliminated. And you know, in our first term, which was actually an incredible success, we had the greatest economy in history until COVID, and even after that, we did great. The stock market was higher. If you think of it, it was higher after the fact. After we went through that whole thing, it was higher than it was just prior to COVID coming in, which is a pretty amazing thing. But we did a great job on that, but it was a terrible thing for the world. The whole world suffered. It suffered terribly, including China, including other countries. It was a terrible period of time. But despite that, we did well. But we had the greatest economy in the history of our country. And I think this time we're going to do even better. We were artificially hurt by COVID. We had to focus on that instead of focusing on, but just prior to COVID coming in, there's never been anything like what we did, what we achieved. And even after, we did very well, and especially considering what all of us had to do with COVID. Some nations were hit so badly, it's just unbelievable what happened to them. As part of our effort, I've signed executive orders to keep the United States at the forefront of artificial intelligence and to end Joe Biden's war on Bitcoin and crypto. We ended that war totally. That war is over. They were very hostile toward them until the very end, just because there's so many people on Bitcoin and crypto that just before the end, the SEC came out and they were being very nice. I was so nice to people because so many people were being indicted for no reason whatsoever. Very political group of people. That's all they did was they liked indicting people. But they were being indicted, and many of those indictments were dropped just before the election because they said, wait a minute, there's 100 million, 125 million people using this, and they didn't want to have, you know, all these people being voted against. But by the time they did that, it was too late. We had that vote entirely, I think. I think anybody smart that believed in that, and there were a lot of people believing it, anybody that was smart voted for Trump. And they pulled the indictments, and I see people that were indicted. I said, I saved your life. I saved your life. Because if they thought that, they actually thought that I was doing it, they said, why is Trump doing it? Is he doing it for political reasons? I don't do anything for political reasons. I do what's right. I want to be in the forefront of every industry. So I'll be working with the Republican Congress to pass the largest tax cuts in American history. And that includes, obviously, we have to extend the Trump tax cuts, which were, until now, the largest. We're going to dramatically cut taxes for families and for workers and for companies, including no tax on tips and hopefully no tax on Social Security and no tax on overtime. And that overtime one is a sleeper because I think a lot of people are going to be spurred on to do a lot of extra work. When they hear that, it's a lot of companies